Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Nadia Sayapin, and this literally exists for one reason and one reason alone, for me to read my books. So I'm an author. I have 4 books written, and I have a friend who likes books but has severe cerebral palsy and is unable to hold the books herself to read them. So I am reading them here for her. I could create audiobooks, but at this point in my life, I can't afford them, so we're going the cheapo free version. Along with that, I am not editing these books or these videos in any way possible. I do the best I can with the lighting, but I mean, it's circumstances are crap. So you're basically stuck with it because these are free. I'm uploading them just for that one friend, and I show my face because she thinks I make funny expressions when I read, which I guess she's not wrong. If you're brand spanking new here, I'd highly recommend going down and starting with the prologue of The Rebels. If you've been here and you've been reading along, we are on chapter 21, in which, for once, there are no trigger warnings. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, let's get into it, shall we? Oh, you're back! Eleanor was the first to greet us after the perimeter guards. She'd been walking outside when we returned, driving carefully down the main road. Me and Phoenix had followed behind, brushing out our tracks as much as we could and hoping for more snow or a melt to hide them. Eleanor went straight to Storm, hugging the girl until she squeaked, then ushered us inside. No. Stop it. Stop. I'm sorry, I wasn't expecting that. Despite the cold, she had on an ankle-length skirt that swirled around her legs when she walked, sweeping the snow. And who are our new friends? Eleanor smiled warmly at the girls, causing them to visibly brighten. At that moment, a little whirlwind blew past us as Anansi ran to his sister, hugging her tightly. The girls are thunder and lightning, I pointed to them. Any way they could have a warm wash? Life's been hard. Amana said, and Seahorse pulled us into the common room, and Amana immediately went into the kitchen to get some pre-melted water onto heat. We need más aguas. Agua, she told us. This was para la seña. No worries, we can... You can sit down, Eleanor said firmly. There are plenty of others who can bring in more snow from melting. Now. We sat. Moana and Cub came racing in, shrieking, and I smiled to see them so exuberant. Cub threw herself onto my lap and yelled, "You came back like you promised! I was scared you wouldn't!" Cub chattered away, no doubt telling us about the exciting things that happened while we were gone, but she talked so fast I couldn't follow her. Still, we nodded, made the appropriate comments, and looked to Moana for a translation when things got too confusing. Seahorse, I turned to the ex-soldier when Cub settled down. How were things while we were gone? How was Anansi? She laughed a little, then stopped, surprised at the sound. It was good. He was a help most of the time. Except for when he tried to figure out how to get the faucets running again. I winced. Was there a big mess? Just fire. It was more smoke than anything, she hastily added. Mostly smoke. Eleanor smiled fondly at the boy where he huddled with his sister, sharing their experiences over the last few days. The air vents work just fine if you're wondering. The rest of the girls slowly wandered in and listened as we told them about our excursion. Fox and High Tide then bundled the new girls off to find rooms and clothes while we waited for the water to heat. That cat is determined to eat something she shouldn't, but she's fine. No one here had seen bad guys other than North Korean soldiers and American collaborators from the North American Liberation Corps either, which was a disappointment. I had a feeling that there was more than just Steve involved. But if the women who were at the center of things hadn't seen any other people, how would we find them? One thing at a time, Sirius said in my ear. Let's deal with the problem in front of us, okay? Okay. First things first, then. How was Anansi planning to get the faucets running? Oh, Seahorse said, looking up from playing patty cake with Moana. He found the well and said something about bypassing the need for a computer chip? I lost him after I found the well. He found it? Where? I sat forward, holding Cub snugly. We've been looking for that damn thing since the beginning. Like the frickin' garage doors, the builder decided to lose the blueprints and maps. You know that service corridor on the far side of the gym? I nodded. In a dingy corner of it, under some ancient gym shorts, there's a trapdoor leading under the gym to a whole bunch of pipes and plumbing. I think it runs under most of the corridors on this level. He disappeared for nearly 12 hours the day after you left. I winced. We were lucky the boy just made a bunch of smoke. Despite his intellect, he still didn't know that much about mechanics, though he was rapidly filling the gaps in his knowledge. And what he didn't know, half the time he could make up. I'll go down there with him later, after I've had a chance to clean up a bit. I surveyed myself and thought I didn't look in too bad a shape. Between us, we should be able to figure something out. You know electronics? No, but we don't want electrical stuff. We want gears and levers. I remembered something we'd left out of our little debrief. Do you guys know if anyone here can work with leather? Kestrel says we need bras, and I don't think I noticed any last time we were in town. That's because we were in Silverton, Phoenix said dryly. You can only buy gifts or groceries there. If you want anything useful, you have to go into Salem. High Tide has already been trying to tan leather, Eleanor informed me. Since when? Since she saw her first deer hide. The older woman straightened her shoulders a little more. Haven't you noticed that terrible smell in Section 8? Built-in sections, the bunker had painted signs telling you where you were. Section 8, an area next door to the garage and out of the way of everything else, stayed largely empty. Stop it! So yes, I had noticed a funky smell, but I'd put it down to poor air circulation and spent 2 days trying to find a blockage in the vents in that section. Those are her attempts at tanning leather. She's trying to go from stories she'd heard from her uncle's tribe, though they weren't exact in their amounts or methods. Later, after I ate, I spent a surprisingly pleasant afternoon with Anansi down in the bowels of our bunker. I pursed my lips in a soundless whistle, impressed the kid had managed to find the damn pump. Sure, once we knew where it was, it seemed pretty obvious, squatting at the center of the water pipes like a spider in the middle of her web. Anansi's jimmy rig was a mess after the fire, but I could follow what he'd been attempting. He wanted an automated system that could draw water from the well into the cistern, but that just wouldn't work, not in this situation. The best I could see would be to create a draw using a hand pump. Once the water had a steady flow, drawing it should get easier. I'd prefer siphoning it, but considering the depth of the well, that was impossible. We made detailed drawings and went back up top to see how we could implement the whole thing. By the time we made it to the common room, we found that dinner was ready to be served, so we rushed to clean up. Amana didn't tolerate unnecessarily filthy people at the dinner table, and had proved willing to dump a bucket of cold water on anyone who didn't listen. Me and Anansi took up an entire table so we could spread our drawings out, deciding what parts we had on hand and what we needed to scavenge. I absently placed my bowl over one corner to hold it down, and Anansi set his cup on another. I glanced up once to see Sirius watching us, a little smile on her lips as she shook her head. I needed this, though. After all the blood in the last 2 days, I needed to make something again, to build. Phoenix called me back to reality after dinner. We needed to talk about heading back into Salem. Mary, Kitten, had asked for a month to dig up any information, and it'd been longer than that. We'd made arrangements to leave notes in the hollow of a specific tree, one that Phoenix and Olivia had used at various times in their lives to store the treasures children everywhere collect. Now it was a dead drop, a place to leave notes and information. Kitten would be getting worried if she'd left a note and we hadn't collected it yet. Eleanor, Seahorse, Sirius, Phoenix, and I gathered in the useless room around the map table. Phoenix urged a full attack, preferably bombing the city center. Seahorse and me automatically vetoed that. 4 people, I said sternly. 2 to stay with the truck, maybe do some looting. 2 to go into Salem. Stop it. We need more intel before we can attack the city. Seahorse sat straight in her chair, every inch the soldier. We're too inexperienced. The girls aren't ready for the unpredictability of combat. I was thinking we could start them on something smaller, I informed the group. Deliberately hitting a patrol truck instead of accidentally running into one. You know, an ambush. Stop it. If the sound is weird because of you, I'm not redoing this video and it'll be your fault. If the sound is weird, it's her fault. The others considered. I think that would work, Seahorse said cautiously. If we chose the spot. We'll need everyone here, though. I let the others debate while I waited for my cousin to speak. Sirius liked to take her time with things. It wasn't good in the field, but in the planning room, it was perfect. We can set up watches, keeping an eye on the roads, Sirius began slowly. Find the routes they frequently use, scope out the area, hit them when they least expect it. Shrugs and nods around the table. Close enough. Seahorse and Sirius, you guys want to collaborate on that? I asked. They looked at each other. Sirius shrugged. Yes, sir! Seahorse nearly saluted. I winced. Don't call me sir. You know that. Now, back to Salem. We decided to have a single person dedicated to talking to Kitten. Her job would be to infiltrate Salem on a regular basis, checking the tree and carrying messages. She'll need to be good at working alone, Eleanor mused. Sirius volunteered, but we vetoed her. She was too good with the dogs, and her distance vision was shit now that her last pair of glasses broke. River, Seahorse eventually said. She prefers to spend her time alone. She's good at hide and seek, Sirius offered. Decent shot, Phoenix added. Not great, but decent. A loner. Like Sirius, then? I grinned at my cousin. Less grumpy in the morning. Phoenix ducked away from Sirius's swipe, laughing softly. River, it turned out, didn't have a lick of sense because she was more than willing to be the go-between. I'd go with her the first time to show her the way, while Dereva and Phoenix stayed with the car and went looting. Over the next few days, while we got supplies together, Anansi and me went through everything, cataloging what parts we had and seeing what we needed to make the pump. We were cannibalizing the bus the day after River agreed to take the messenger job when High Tide tracked me down. Captain, I need more information, she announced from near my feet. I lay on my back under the bus, a muffin pan and baking sheet stolen from the kitchen next to me, each filling up with parts or connectors. About what? I could hear her hands planted on her hips as I wriggled out from under the bus. Tanning! I don't know enough. There's something I'm missing. Can you look for books while you're out? You're kidding, right? You've been to a library! Her hair was sticking up from where she'd been running her hands through it. All you have to do is find me the information. I can take care of the rest. How hard can it be to tan leather? Seeing the skepticism on my face, she threw her hands up in frustration. I've tried everything I can think of. Scrambled brains alone don't work. I've tried mushing them up and straining them to get the oils out, but... Gross! I held up a hand to stop her. I believe you. I don't want to know more. Tell the shoppers. Thanks, Cap. High Tide grinned happily at me now that this problem was passed on and practically skipped away. I'd just gotten back under the bus with my arm in shoulder deep trying to reach a stubborn bolt when there was another interruption. Capitan? The accent placed her as Amana said. Yes, I growled. What did it take to get some work done around here? We need pads and tampons, she said bluntly. Oh, shit! Do we still have some? I extracted my arm and wriggled out again. Enough for... She tapped her fingers on her leg. 2 more periods. Shit. Another thought occurred. Has everyone else had their period? See, everyone except thunder and lightning, but they have not been here long. River and storm say theirs were very heavy. Very heavy. Could that have meant pregnant? A very real possibility, and I had to admit, if no one was pregnant, we definitely dodged a bullet. At some point, however, we'd have to deal with a woman pregnant by rape. It was a bridge I was happy to put off until I got to it. Right. Tell Phoenix and Dereva. I brightened. Better yet, write it down. Write down a list of things you'd like them to keep an eye out for. Also, can you brainstorm with everyone and come up with some suitable alternatives to pads and tampons? They won't last forever, no matter how many we find. Sí, Capitán. Mi pondré en eso. I sighed and wished for the millionth time that I'd taken Spanish in high school. I'll take that as a yes. Did you find any grease? I asked Anansi. We were under the gym the day after I talked periods with Amana, messing with the pump. We'd managed to Mickey Mouse a system, but I needed some grease to smooth things out. He shook his curly head. Nothing. We'll have to go looting for it. Damn it. Animal fat was all we had, and it would have to be enough. I hoped. I continued tightening the bolts, surveying our work as I did so. We'd set up 2 large wheels on either side of the new system. They were connected to the crankshaft and acted as our handles, at least until we had supplies to get a better system up and running. We should, in theory and by all calculations, be able to draw enough water to fill the cistern, giving us enough water for a day or 2. We'd left the pipe unhooked just as we could tell when the water finally made it up. I had no idea how many more adjustments we'd have to make before we were through. Anansi applied a little more grease, and then it was time to put it to the test. We hauled on our wheels, and I went so far as to brace one foot on the bottom of the pump, the other on a pipe brace halfway to the roof in order to get a better grip. Is this even working? Anansi cried breathlessly, his young frame straining. Gotta get the grease worked in, I grunted. First time's the bitch. After 5 revolutions, it moved a bit easier, so we stopped and applied more grease. Anansi's stomach growled and I laughed. What? He said defensively. I'm growing! As long as you don't faint, I exhaled, pulling once more. My stomach growled. Anansi cackled. Can it, kid? What? He blinked innocent black eyes at me. At least I'm growing taller. At your age, there's only one direction left. Ah! I bellowed, pulling the wheel through the last sticky bit. That's it! You're my example now! I finally got my feet under me. The wheel picked up speed. By the time I'm done with you, nobody'll ever give me grief again. I laughed a little, arms moving faster. You'll have, he panted, to catch me first. Sure you can do that? You're what, 25? Getting pretty old. Older than you'll get at this rate. You can't outrun a bullet, boy. Every turn got easier, but still no water. I wondered if there was any left. Will the toilets work again? Probably. Damned if I know what shape the septic tank is in. My arms ached all the way through to my back. Actually, I don't want to know how that's doing. We can keep the composting toilets for all I care. Are we there yet? Water shot up out of the open pipe, blinding Anansi. I stepped back, shaking my head and pawing water out of my eyes. Shit! Wasn't supposed to do that! Anansi made use of the mouthful of water he'd been given and swallowed it. It's good! Sweet, like the creek. I tasted a handful. He was right. It was cool, refreshing, and better than the creek because it was right in front of us. Quick, let's get this hooked. We hurriedly fitted the pipe back on and tightened the O-bolt. I didn't want to lose the flow and have to start from the beginning. As we hauled with renewed vigor, I could hear the boy singing softly. I'm taking a bath Tonight I'll be taking a bath. Our rig system held, though barely. I kept a close eye on it, gauging the shaking as the water gushed through. It would hold for now. I screamed with joy, Anansi giving war whoops, all fatigue gone as we rushed to fill the cistern. What the hell's all this noise? Seahorse appeared through the tangle of pipes, her glare set on kill mode. I'm trying to... We have water! Anansi screamed. What? Seahorse impatiently shoved short brown hair out of her eyes. We got water, I repeated. Tell them to turn on the faucets. Turn on everything. Seahorse wriggled through the pipes like a snake through vines, and when she exited, I could hear her yelling at everyone to go. The dinner that night was the cleanest I'd ever seen us. Not a smudge of dirt anywhere. The girls were more animated, chatting and laughing, stroking and smelling their hair, pleased to be entirely clean. Me and Anansi had been the last ones out, and we'd had to refill the tank again, but seeing these shining faces made the effort worth it. My hair still dripped when I finally sat down with my bowl of stew between Eleanor and Sirius, my bare feet stretched out in front of me. Amanased set her bowl down opposite me, giving me a shy smile as she did. What did you think of the soup? She asked us. The soup is delicious, dear, Eleanor replied, smiling at her daughter. I nodded, mouth too full to speak. What's the green stuff? Sirius asked. It's nice. Stinging nettle y diente de leon. At our blank looks, she tried again. Yellow flower? Tea leaf look like saw? Teeth? Dandelion? I asked, remembering Mom's obsession with herbs. Si, Amana said happily. Dandelion. I didn't know you could put them in soup, Eleanor said. I don't know, the girl shrugged. The book says good for you, so I put where I can. In soup. Bien. I took another bite. I like it. Oh, madre, Amana said to Eleanor. Tell Capitan about the pads, por favor. I transferred my attention to Eleanor, who said, My mother told me about how her mother used to deal with periods. They used to use strips of fabric, fastened to a belt tied under their clothes. I leaned back, horrified. You mean like a diaper? Yes, exactly like that. Sirius wrinkled her nose. Won't we be going through a lot of cloth? No. Eleanor gave us an apologetic smile. They're reusable. We'll just have a lot more washing. I caught Eleanor's look. Udge. That'll add a lot to the list. Well, that's why it's so important that you've got the indoor plumbing fixed, Eleanor said, smiling Madonna-like. What do we need? I sighed, already resigned to mountains of laundry. No. Not much. Safety pins, soft cloths, and tough ones for both the belts and the outer layers of the pads. So, sheets, jeans, and safety pins? I summed it up. Yes, exactly. Thank you. Yay. Thick, chunky pads and no chocolate on top of the cramps. Yeah, that'll really make our months. Fuck. More for the shopping list then. All right, and that is chapter 21. Thank you so much for joining me. Sorry, I don't know, you normally have her in here while I'm reading, but, you know, this time we did. I will see you guys next week.